Yeah. So I think, listening to what you're saying about Lithuania, that is the downfall of Eastern Bloc countries. They have got to do what the other parts of
the
Europe
thing is, not even that
yeah.
long ago, when my mum was young, I'd say maybe, so what, about 20, 30 years ago, 25 years ago maybe, they only went independent from the Soviet Union or whatever, yeah. And everybody was unified and united and whatnot, but yet, soon as that ended, everybody still went back to their normal lives and not sort of talking to each other. Like, there's some unity, like everybody's friendly, but it's just not a polite country as per se. Once you speak to someone, it's cool, but like on a passing, we're not saying sorry, we're not saying hello, straight face, no smiles, you know what I'm saying? But that's just the culture, I suppose. But when it comes to unity and,
you guys
and
don't
really
feel
doing
offended,
something,
though.
nah.
Yes, I'm saying. So it's
We
not
don't
like
care.
a thing where
we can take things straight, people telling us things straight, and then I speak for myself and I could just take it. As a culture, I feel like a lot of Lithuanians can as well. That's why I would just think that the world's sensitive, isn't it? Because you can't really say things how you want to say it nowadays.
Yeah, but I'm unfortunate with young people of today. Went back to what you're talking about how do we engage with gangs. It's back down to one. My personal belief is that your generation have a very good chance of having an input on this. Because I'm going to be honest with you, and this is the truth. And I think a lot of people in my age group, we're what you would call waste man. Our generation has flopped. Seriously, I'm not gonna. It's no point me trying to pretend.
That's the first thing Sheldon said when he walked in.
Flopped. We
first time we
can't.
met him.
We have let you down so badly that what I'm talking about here, I'm not appealing to my age group anymore. I'm appealing to you, man, because my age group have flopped big time. We don't look after our kids. We don't raise our kids. We don't do the right thing by our kids. We run out of relationships as quickly as we run into them, right? I know it's going to sound bad because people listen to me like, oh, you sound like you're generalizing. I'm sorry, I am. Because too much of us have felt, my generation I'm talking.
Do you feel like it's accountability, not taking accountability for not doing certain things? Because like you can say these things and in the other breath come with a solution. Do you know what I mean? Whereas a lot of people, you would tell them that, oh, this is you, someone your age, like this is what you're doing. They'll be like, nah, but you know what I mean?
They do. Listen, bruv, I speak to people my age group and they make up every excuse
that's what it is.
You can find in the book. And they never, ever try to even take half of it.
But it's do you know what? I think I figured this out, Sheldon. I swear to you, I think it's because of that thing we was just talking about, is dealing with their past, dealing with this again. Having to go back and to talk to a you about what they used to do. They have to go back there. They're not trying to go back because they can't deal with this.
But you know, you can't move forward if you don't go back. You can't. This is the problem.
I don't think it's right. I'm just saying that that's why they're not doing it, because they haven't got to your place yet where they're like, you know, I've dealt with my stuff and now I want to give back. They don't, you know what I'm trying to say?
What I'm saying is
they're scared
that's
of their
causing
past.
the chasm, because right now, London, the figures for London crime is at 44 murders for every 100,000 London, These are old figures, by the way, old. Compared to 35 murders by white people in the same London. We only make up 13% of the population in London. The white people make up 60%. So we are killing ourselves at an alarming rate. And what I'm saying is, my generation, who could have done something, who should have done something, have flopped. And so now I go around speaking to as much younger people, because I find your generation, not the generation below you, your generation, because you're in your late 20s, isn't it? So that's
early 20s for me.
Yeah, the early 20s for me. But the point what I'm saying, that generation, not the younger ones, are the ones that most probably going to turn this around, because...
Yeah, I think so.
Because you guys are more susceptible to looking at your past.
My generation was the crossroads.
Yeah. Man, you heard it here first, man. You gotta stand up for the change. You feel me? It's gotta be us, man, that do this.
Now, real talk, because our generation was the change between past and new, between no technology and technology,
100%.
Between no social media and social. We know
how it was and we know
how
what
it is.
Yeah,
we've seen both worlds, And
I prefer how it was. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
So do I. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think that's just human nature, to be honest with you, innit? Preferring what you're used to, innit?
Yeah, literally.
But like, that's the thing, as I feel like we can do it, but we have to do it in numbers.
Yeah,
because like it's a thing where, because like what you're saying, like what you've gone through, like there are men that I know off top of my head that have gone through similar stuff. Not obviously but like the level of violence and the level that there's a lot of man that they would listen to, and I know that these men aren't even really on that anymore. Don't get me wrong, you can tell that it plagues them. You know what I mean? Mentally, you can see that there's stuff going on in their minds, and they still talk a certain thing, but they're not really in that lifestyle anymore. But and I know that these men can sort of make a change, even if it's just talking your story. Like, I don't mean being a preacher guy. Like, this is another thing. Like, I remember watching Big Ego Entertainment Ville's interview, and Ville said something about being the guy from Stratford.
Champion. What's his name, man? What's Ville's name, real name?
I don't know. I'm gonna call him Ville's. Yeah, but Ville's, yeah. And he said he doesn't want to be the preacher guy. No one likes the preacher guy, and it's real talk. Like, no one likes the preacher guy. And I remember being younger and looking at the guy that used to be the preacher guy and thinking, rah, man, no one's gonna listen to you, bro. But I was the guy that was looking at you like, you're not a dickhead, he's not an idiot. But I was like, these men ain't gonna listen to you, bro.
Literally.
Like, I remember looking at, like, thinking that because of the angle you're coming at him with, because they didn't come with your technique.
That's why it's
like,
important.
What? You know what I'm trying to say? So, like, yeah, go on.
That's why it's important to have people like you, like yourself, and whoever's doing this thing that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? More people need to step forward, because it's one thing us or people our age talking to the younger generation. Cool. They're speaking to us as their older brother, their older whatever. But when there's backup from someone who could be our grandparents, you know what I'm saying? Respectfully, like, it's coming like, raw, this has really been going on and it's really real. Like, it's backed up through generations. So we need to listen.
They need to see the end goal. And I think that we need to be that. And that's another thing where I'm trying
We're still an end goal in progress, isn't
exactly.
it? People that have made a turnaround are sitting right here.
But the end progress depends, because each person's success is different. So
100%.
So JR's success is that this is the start of like his multimedia
Salute
empire.
Pepper Street Studio.
Right?
Salute JR.
So JR's got that as a success, right? But a next man his success might be I just want to be married, 2 kids and a car, and that's it. Because the problem with our generation, whether you be black or white, makes no difference, is that we look at materialism as success. That's not necessarily success. Success is how your kids grow.
Yeah. What you leave behind.
That's it.
Ultimately.
The legacy.
Your legacy.
Yeah, it's end of story. And that's the problem with us. We're all looking at it wrong. So, for instance, JR, I don't know. If
your legacy isn't the cars and the clothes.
But you might want to have kids. Yeah? Okay, cool. So, he's built this. In JR's head, at the moment, it's for him. But then the minute he gets a child, and I shouldn't speak for JR, I'm just going to assume this.
Hypothetically. Scenario.
He will be like, I've got something to leave for my child, whether it be a boy or girl, makes no difference. Yeah? Now, that's a legacy. Now, the problem with us is that our legacies are all wrong. The legacy is your child and what you're leaving for your child.
Not what you've
not
done.
You. Not your big car. Not your this. Everything. The problem with us is
what you pass down.
It's not wrong to have them things. Don't get. You know what I'm saying? It's good to have them.
But the problem with us is we have
that's not the goal
on that too much. Like, look at my car.
So our brains aren't on neck.
That's not the goal, man.
It's not that. You've got the big car, but your son looks like he's dressed in some jumbo sale clothes.
Yeah.
Why? Because dad wants to have a BMW, but my boy don't look like. So you have to switch the game up.
But you're having 2 meals instead of 3. You've
got to switch the game up. So, for instance, I wear name brand clothes, but not the name brand clothes that youngers wear. Yeah? Why? Because I've got 4 kids. Okay, 2 kids because 2 are big people, right? So, obviously, if I've got 4 kids, obviously, you can't carry on like you were when you're 15.
100%.
But the problem with us is we do. That's why I'm saying my generation failed. If you look at my generation, they all would be wearing.
They got the Averex still on, but you got to Brixton.
But none of them look after their kids. So to me, we've got it wrong as a race of people. As people, we've got to prioritize children is your wealth. Children, how your children are, and is representing you. So, for instance,
100%.
if my
100%,
daughter
man.
sleeps around, that's badness on me. Why? What did I do? Oh, most probably didn't help to raise her. So am I going to blame her now? But now, because I've helped to raise my kids, all 4, they don't have kids up and down. They don't date man for man
still
for man.
the values that you wanted
They're
into
still
them.
inside there from the value, even though they don't live with me now because they're big people. You understand? So the problem with us is that we've got wealth wrong.
Yeah.
Wealth is wrong. Don't matter what you're wearing. It's what your boy's wearing or what your daughter's wearing. Because if you are driving a flash car, but when we look at your child like, wow, well, go on, fam. Like, what's the point of you having a flash car?
Yeah.
Your child should be your priority in every area of their life.
I'm not gonna lie, it used to be hella confusing when I used
Not
to,
even
when
what
I
they're
used to
wearing.
see,
Let's
like,
not put it down
Yeah.
to the garms and
Yeah.
how they look in it, because there's
Education.
Because there's poor families out there that might not have it for the kids and themselves
But you
that are
don't
still
have to-
willing.
but you
No,
can
that's what I'm saying.
invest the time.
That are still willing to grow up the kids proper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether they're not dressing them in the best of garms, but the values and the morals that they're instilling in them little
That's the
people.
key here.
That's the key. You feel me?
Values, morals, you just said it, bro. Values, morals, and principles. Those
Yeah,
are the
man.
key.
Because that's
And
the
it's-
thing. Because like I was
The big three.
saying, like they used like when I used to be younger, I used to be outside. I used to see some of the man them like chilling with us or whatever. Now when I grew up, I didn't grow up hella poor. I was one of the alright ones in the group. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But we just lived in the same area, right? But the man that used to be, you know what I mean, worse off than me, I used to sometimes see their dads pulling up in mad whips and like in mad city, and used to be like,
But the dad
it used to be bare confusing.
Did the dad live at
I used
home?
to be,
or
so
not?
why are you here? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Or why do you look like that? You get me? But as a kid, you're thinking, like, in your head, it's like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? You just
Was
shrug
the
it
dad
off.
with the? Did he live at home or was it?
No, they'll just be pulling up something. You know that dad that you hardly ever see, but you know
Yeah,
like he's
yeah.
one of them.
Weekend-
Like, yeah, he's
one
a
of them.
money man, but you don't know how he's a money man because
Yeah.
you're not going up to his dad saying, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" You know what I'm saying? No one asks someone else's dad that. You get me? You just like dad's got a big boy whip and he spuds everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now you know who he is.
Yeah.
But, you
Back
know,
then you didn't.
the most important thing is what you were saying, man. It's about values, morals, and principles. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. You understand? Look, me and my wife, right? We've been married 22 years. Okay, that in itself is a journey.
That's
You
a
understand
madness.
what I'm saying?
Congratulations, man.
22 years.
Especially in this
That's
day and
crazy,
age, boy.
man.
No affairs,
Congrats,
no
man.
slip-ups, none
Yeah.
of that. No,
Serious.
No, respect.
My parents have been
affairs,
married
no
for
slip-ups.
25 now.
Straight up, 22
I'm gonna be
years,
like that
right?
when I'm older.
And we went through what you would call real poverty. And I'm going to tell you why we did that. The first thing we thought was like, okay, Shell, you was in a gang. You didn't feel loved at home. You didn't feel wanted at home. We can't be doing that. So this is what we did. Both of us had good jobs because I'm quite bright. I've got degrees, diplomas coming at me here, right? I'm really bright. So I had a good job. My wife had a good job. We both worked for the
It's a
government.
sick way to stunt
You
on someone.
understand? She worked for the government, I worked for the government. But here what happened. When we was going to have child number, our first child, 2001. Hear what my wife said, like, Shell, I'm gonna stop work. I'm gonna stay at home. I'm gonna spend time with the kids. Because one, we lived in a gang area. Okay? That's number one, which was Newham. Okay? So obviously, we don't want the gangs to raise our kids. Back then, there wasn't the social media what we got now. So she said, like, she's going to stay. So let me tell you how much money we lost. We was earning £67,000 in 2000. That's a lot of money. That's over 120 grand now. Right?
Jesus,
We're talking 21 years ago.
Yeah, right. She dropped the salary for £30,000, disappeared. So we was living below the breadline.
You cut it in half, basically.
Cut it in half, bruv.
Yeah.
We started shopping at Primark. No more name brand, no more. And I'm talking about improper. I'm talking about proper poor. You understand? And I'm gonna tell you why we did it. Because we knew eventually that would get turned around. Because I'm quite bright. You understand? And we eventually were gonna turn this around. But we had to invest time, not money, into the kids so that one, gangs didn't get hold of them. Two, they weren't bad people in school, like disrespecting teachers. Three, that they understood values, morals, and principles. So even if they had turned 18 and decided I'm going to bun weed, at least they will know certain things because it was already in there. Right. So what we did, we turned that around, but now...
That's sacrifice, though. You have to sacrifice,
You have to sacrifice. And what we did, on top of the sacrifice, we eventually turned it around, and now I get paid white man's money. So white man's money is the difference between black man's money. Black man's money means you earn chump change.
Well, let me get some of that. Bro.
And white man's money...
I ain't getting that.
Bro, hey, we need to hold on to Mantas, bro.
Yeah.
They got me on the wrong sheet, cuz.
When I say white man's money, people need to understand the definition. What I'm trying to say is that there are certain kinds of money that you can earn, and I don't mean it in... I'm using the colour because I'm trying to show you...
It's just a saying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a saying. I'm not
From where we're from, we know what he means,
Yeah.
but to broaden it and teach everyone else, you have to teach, you have to explain.
So basically what I'm saying here is this. When you start working for yourself, consultant, something like that, you have to start at the bottom and work up the top.
100.
The top, the terminology is we need to get to where the white man's money is. That's the terminology. We're not trying to be discriminative. Because,
that's a good one. That's a good description.
Right.
I can't
So
lie.
if you stay at the black man's money, okay, it means that there's limitations. But if you go into the white man's money, it means it stretches.
Yeah.
So I'm in that category now, which has taken me 21 years.
Respect, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So it's the sacrifice you make.
Back around.
It comes back around, but it won't come back straight away.
No, but listen. People, yeah, in 2001, yeah, you need to clock what he said. They were earning 60 odd grand a year and saw the way the world was moving.
And said, no, we're not in...
They looked at the world and the direction it was moving in when it was already fast paced. No one had time to think, and they went, "We need to make a big move here." And when this is gonna be mad, but we believe in us. Yeah, that just shows the strength of your marriage and probably why it's lasted up until all of this time.
100%.
Yeah, because you did that sacrifice for the kids. You put that into the children. Which is a mad, which when you was explaining it to me,
now
it
more
was
than
mad.
ever as well.
It was mad good. When you was explaining what you did, I was like, what did you do? Because it was noble, but why? But how the heck? Because in my head, I'm like, how did you know you were turning it around? Because I know you today, and I didn't know you then. But I'm like, how did you make that decision and know for a fact you and your missus said, we're turning this around?
Because it was a choice to cut it.
But don't you think that's a bit sad though, people? That's the sacrifice that Sheldon had to make just to...
But it's a sacrifice I think we all have to make. It's not... See, the problem is the priorities of the children. See, the problem we're in now with gangs, sexual exploitation, grooming, is that parents are not prepared to make that sacrifice.
That's it.
They still want to live large. You can't
That's it.
have
That's
a child
exactly it.
and still want to live large.
You have to live within your means.
Or
Let's just say that.
what's happening a lot, which is what we've spoken about before, is how much the parents are even working or not even in the house to begin with. Like, because of all the hours and all the shifts that they're doing and they're just out doing whatever, so they can't put that time and effort into the kids as well.
But to answer that question, they can, because the problem with us is that we think we can't because, I got 2 shifts to do, I got this, that. Listen, it isn't about the shifts. It's about working out a strategy of where do you see yourself in 10 years' time, and in your case of your child. Now, we saw ourselves that we were going to be successful, but we knew that we had to suffer. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's not about timing because we all worked hard, but the problem is that we thought the best way to do this, one person stay at home. Now, where you're talking about there's no father figure, and this is why I'm saying it can work.
Yeah.
When you have an absent father who isn't working, that is the best time. Why? Because the father who is not living at the home can spend more time in picking the kid up from school, so that the mum can invest more in herself to make it better for the child as well. The problem with a lot of men is that when they're not working, they use that as an excuse as to why they can't pick the child up or why they can't take the child to school. And they use all of these excuses as to why they're not successful. If you listen to a lot of men, especially black men, they will say things like, I can't get a job because I'm black. I can't get a job because this happened. I can't get a job because that happened. Now let's ask ourselves this question. How many times have you ever heard a black woman ever tell you, I can't get a job because I'm black? Anybody? Ever? Why do you think that is? Because
Persistence.
But not only persistence, because she's got a life that she's got to support.
Yeah.
She hasn't got
No
time to
choice.
think. She hasn't got time to think about racism.
And you know
She
what? That's
hasn't-
that's the thing,
There's just
people.
no choice,
Is
man.
when
Yeah.
you meet black people from other parts of the UK that live in different places, or way predominantly more white in places there where we live, they don't think like us. They have no idea why we think the way we think, because they're like, listen, I ain't got time to think like that. We don't think like that over here. They even tell us, yo, we don't talk like that over here. They tell us Londoners, yo, you talk like that over there. In this town, we don't talk like that here, because they kind of treat it like it doesn't exist. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Sometimes
It's like they treat, because so they're like in their workplace, it's like they're moving like it doesn't exist. So it's like they're kind of lying to themselves. But then they lie themselves into position.
Yes, but we have to be careful about lying to ourselves about racism.
Because then you lose yourself.
Yeah, then you lose yourself.
Yeah,
My argument is always based on this. We know racism exists. No one's going to pretend it doesn't. But then how long can we sit discussing it before we get up and say, because think about it, if you have a child, right? Say like there's discrimination against your race, your Lithuanian. How long can you keep telling your daughter, I can't get a job because I'm Lithuanian and they don't like me? Tell me,
true.
no, let me ask you that question.
It's true, because then your child
I
will start
personally
looking at-
wouldn't even
No,
do that.
but no, let's say that. That's the. You hear what you just said? I personally wouldn't do that. Why do you think he wouldn't do it? Because it's a pointless exercise. Because
Literally.
your daughter needs to eat cornflakes in the morning. She
That's
ain't
it.
got time to hear, dad can't provide for us because he's Lithuanian.
You just got to do
And
what you got to do at all times.
we
man.
have to survive, okay? But we have to survive with a proper mentality, which is of success. What is success? Our children. What do we do about our children? We sacrifice. If I can do it, and I don't think I'm any different to anybody in this room, we can all do it. But the problem with us is my generation don't do it. So it means that we don't have somebody steering the ship. You guys are the ship. There's no one steering you. You got to make it up as you go along. He's got to do his thing. Because we've got no thing. If you look at the mafia, there's a proper system in place.
Yeah.
Even though we don't like what they're doing, there's a system in place.
Here, just
We don't
havoc.
have no system. We just go around just doing all kinds of madness. So for
it's
instance,
true, it's true.
When we did that sacrifice,
There's no order.
what we decided to do was say, like, okay, we're gonna sacrifice that. Good, cool. So you're gonna have to work a little bit harder. Secondly, education. Okay. So we got private tuition.
and you know what it is. You went and done it. You was like, cool. If I have to work double, I'm gonna whatever the situation was. I don't know innit, but I'm gonna do what it takes. A lot of man now will be like, no, you just ain't staying home doing nothing. You're gonna have to bring something in. Like there's
that's the
the
thing.
man now
But
wants
she
to
is-
be sort of
yeah.
on the same level as the woman,
Yeah,
whereas
but she
the
is
breadwinner
doing
should still
something.
be the
But
man.
that's what I'm saying.
But
Is
she
that's
is.
another question I was gonna ask
Yeah.
you. Actually, I lost it. It's
The
good
modern
you brought that
man
in.
doesn't see that, but
We
it's
have
so
to-
true. It's,
yeah.
it's the key.
No, wait.
man.
Let me land it.
Go on.
What you said, I was gonna ask that. Do you think that now we have to get used to different ways of roles happening within a household? Where sometimes, you might have to take a back seat. If you can't find your breadwinning thing and it's not working out right now, bro, you might have to invest more and into the kids, and you might have to do the school runs. You might have to do the dinner, the breakfast.
You have said it in one. That's the key here. The key here is this. We are men and we are supposed to bring the bread in, as they say. No one's going to dispute that. It's biblical. It's all there. But hear what? Because of the society we're in and capitalism, everything's changed. So we have to adapt. And as a man, I've adapted. You understand? Because I realized, obviously I'm very fortunate. I'm a consultant. I am fortunate. And I did the right thing at the right time, which was getting education when I came back from America. Now, what we have to do is that if you're not working as a man, that's all good. There's nothing wrong with that. You can cook, you can clean, you can bring the kid home. Guess what happens with that? The woman will then be able to climb that corporate ladder or statutory ladder. And because you're doing your part and you're not working, it's not a big thing.
Another thing. Let me pause you there.
Very
Wait.
scary thing though, because
Go
in
on,
a
you
man,
might-
in a modern man's eyes, you would start to think that after however long, your woman's gonna start seeing you as,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
No, that's why it's got to be a joint decision.
Yeah,
Wait.
yeah.
OG. Let's invite you into our world now.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Cause it's a scary place, you know.
No. It's all right. It's boiling up in our generation.
Yeah.
They're trying to take our women, right? In terms of how, in terms of women being this thing where you're now looking down on men. Yeah?
I don't need no man, that type of conversation.
So, how are we gonna do that? How would you advise our generation to do that while our women are becoming a lot more
Feminist.
No,
Yeah.
Or like,
Basically.
like how
In
would
a
how would
show,
you
yeah.
how would you recommend that? Because the younger generation are even more scared in terms of like rah. So that means that. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
It's a pressure thing to be at a
thing,
certain point as a man to feel like you're a man, basically. I feel like at this
I feel like the
stage.
expectations
You know what
now
I'm
are a
saying?
lot
But
higher.
how do we get our women to help us be and to help us be on that same page?
Right. Well, the first thing that takes communication. Remember we spoke about that earlier.
Because I think in your day the women were a lot more like down for to ride the household.
yeah.
You see the whole team.
Humility
effort
was a thing,
thing.
yeah.
The team effort thing was much more a thing in your
100%.
day.
100%.
This time it's harder. So that's why we're
so
losing.
This is what I'm saying. Communication is the key. The problem with a lot of brothers, they don't communicate very well, which is what I'll say.
Yeah,
When I say
I
brothers,
agree.
I'm going to include everyone.
Yeah.
Black, white, Asian. Makes no difference, okay?
Yeah.
Culture,
Culture.
people.
So I don't want people to think I'm just talking Pacifics here.
Yeah.
Right. As men, whatever culture you are from, the communication we are very weak in. Men are weak. Why? Because men like surface conversations. Women like emotional and spiritual conversations. So we're from women are from Venus, men are from Mars. That's the problem. So we have to change and break that cycle so that we're both from the same planet. The only way to do that is through communication. And the problem with every generation, especially men, we're not very good at sitting down and having a plan. Whereas me and my wife, and don't get me wrong, I weren't very good at it. But the minute my wife said, Shell, we're having a child, we need to move to another. You got to.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, you can land it. You can land it. Got a minute.
So, the minute that she was saying like, oh, boom, we're gonna have a child, we communicated and made an agreement. Agreement is the key here. There is no point going forward if you cannot agree. We agreed on how we was going to raise these children because we was looking 20 years down the line. Even though for the middle of that 20 years, we were broke beyond imagination.
So you weren't looking for the fast money. It was, what are we going to do in 20 years' time?
Exactly.
That means you were already looking at your woman like, you're going to be with me for the rest of my life. That's another important thing.
Yeah, so this is another thing.
Nowadays,
You got to want to be, you got to want to look ahead with this person.
That's the reason why it's
you're raising
important that
kids
you
with.
find a woman that has the same commitments as you. The problem with a lot of men, they find a woman to have sex with, not to have a committed relationship. So the problem with men is that we look at women in a sex object instead of looking at women as our partners.
Right.
That's the mistake.
You would say men are from what was it?
Mars.
Yeah, men are from Mars.
And women from Venus.
Yeah, men follow their penis, women follow their heart.
Yeah, there you are. You said it. Couldn't have said it any better. And that's the problem with us. We have to change that narrative. So to answer your question, one, you have to find a woman that is prepared to commit and